Hi, I'm Kimberly, and on April 17th, 2017, I was in a car accident. I was 18 years old at the time, and this occurred during spring break of my senior year of high school. And I went with my friend at the time. We were really excited to go on this trip. It was my first trip, without parents. It was an amazing day. We went to the movies, and then after, around 6 to 7, it started raining a lot, and Norfolk is really low landed. It's very flat. And we started driving back to the hotel. Everything was cool, but she was speeding. Out of nowhere, traffic started reducing on the highway, and my friend, she braked suddenly. And it was a very scary moment because once she hit the brake, the car started sliding. I could feel it sliding. And out of nowhere, within seconds, we spun around multiple times until we hit the divider wall. And it took me and my friend a minute or two to recognize what actually happened. After that happened, we tried to calm down. My friend called her parents, one of her close friends. It took a while for the police to come, and when they came, they had to shut down the whole highway for about, say, 10 to 15 minutes because when we hit the wall, we were facing oncoming traffic. And at the time, it's crazy, but I really didn't feel any pain. That night, I was still in shock. We didn't really talk much afterwards. But what was scary was when nighttime came, when I tried to sleep it off. I just remember this tremendous pain that I've never felt like no other in my right eye and all over the right side of my head. What I thought was that in the morning I'd be better, that the symptoms would just go away. I woke up fine, you could say. Her parents came, made the drive to Norfolk from Manassas to pick us up. And then once I got home, my mom, of course, she wanted me to get checked. She told me if you're not better by tomorrow, or if she feels that I wasn't okay or didn't look okay, that she would take me to patient first. So we went to patient first. They took multiple x-rays of my back, my neck, my arm, my chest, and there was a huge bruise on the upper half of my back. There was a bruise on my arm, and the doctor at patient first got really worried because I was telling her, yeah, I hit the side of my head too. So patient first doesn't have CAT scans, so she recommended me to go to the hospital. We went probably around midnight is when we got there, and they took the head CAT scan. I explained everything. I explained how the accident occurred, and once the doctor came, he told me and my family that what I had was a mild concussion. All they told me was to make an appointment with a concussion specialist. But when I went, they were very optimistic. They told me I just had to do a few exercises for brain stimulation, eye stimulation, neck stimulation, because they explained to me that usually during car accidents, when you get a concussion, your neck, your eyes, and your brain gets involved during the impact. And after a month goes by, my symptoms started getting worse. When I would walk, I'd feel really dizzy. I started getting ringing in my ear, which was really weird. I started having double vision, and they did an exam where they started to feel my muscles, my neck muscles, my back muscles. They told me, oh, you have a lot of knots, you have a lot of tension. We recommend you to go to a physical therapist. We went, say, 2 to 3 weeks to physical therapy. Nothing was changing. And it's not until the 3rd month when they diagnosed me with post-concussion syndrome. They explained it as having all the symptoms of a recent concussion, but it's prolonged. This can last up to 5 months to 5 years. And after they diagnosed me with that, of course, they recommended eye therapy and vestibular therapy. During this time, all I was doing was going to doctor's offices and back home. I became so isolated due to all the limitations I had. Since, for example, just watching a TV show for about, say, 30 minutes would increase my symptoms drastically. And it was frustrating. I couldn't go out to the movies. I couldn't even go out to the grocery stores because the lights overhead would really bother me and make my symptoms escalate. I had to wear a hat inside. I had to wear sunglasses just to decrease my symptoms. I started becoming extremely antisocial, and it was a very difficult time for me because the only people I had in my corner were my parents. I'm appreciative of that, don't get me wrong, but I would have really liked somebody, a peer my own age, or people I thought that were my friends, to be around. I became extremely depressed and anxious. I became extremely anxious to the point where I was unable to sleep at night because all of these thoughts were running through my head. I told my doctors about it. They diagnosed me with insomnia, depression, and anxiety. They recommended a psychologist, but I was like, no, that's not me. I didn't really believe in mental health because it's something that never was really addressed in my culture. Something seen as an excuse, so I was like, no, that's not me. I was super in denial of it. It got really bad to the point where I was suicidal. I had suicidal thoughts. I lost so much hope. To be honest, I lost the will to live. I was like, what's the point of living anymore? Really, what's the point? All I'm doing is just literally going to doctors and coming back home. And I don't have anybody in my circle. I'm not contributing to society in any way. I was supposed to start college. I had a job, All that stopped. I was literally doing nothing. I felt so useless. I felt worthless. My confidence literally decreased so much. Every time I would look in the mirror, I just didn't recognize who that person was. I had lost myself. It was extremely difficult. And this feeling, this depression, the anxiety, the suicidal thoughts, had lasted me 2 years because that's how long it took for me to recover from this. And what made my mental health even worse was the fact that some of my peers did not believe what I was actually going through. They assumed that I was making the whole situation up. I felt like I was going crazy because nobody believed me, which was really hard for me to accept, and I lost everybody that I thought were my close friends in a couple of weeks. And what also affected my mental health was seeing how it had not affected only me, but my parents as well. It had affected them financially and emotionally as well. The doctor's visits were very expensive since it was specialist, it was therapist. It's not something that my insurance really covered. They only covered for probably 2 out of the 4 doctors I was seeing. And it was very stressful because my mom, my dad had lost a lot of days of work because they were caring for me. I was unable to take care of myself, and I was 18, 19 at the time. It wasn't until my therapist and doctors started seeing better results, I started moving up levels, is when I started to notice that, hey, I'm seeing the results. I started to feel more confident in myself, and it kept getting better, and it kept getting better, and it got a lot better. On February 2019 is when I was cleared, and the future was just looking so bright. But I still, of course, had some lingering symptoms, which was normal, but it wasn't bad as compared as before. You know, I still had some limitations, like couldn't go on roller coasters, but I was able to go to more social events. I was able to reconnect with old friends. I have become somewhat of the person that I aspire to be, and I know, of course, there's still much more growth that I would like to see, and a lot of more experiences I'd like to experience, and a lot of more things that I want to do. But I am content of where I am right now. To those dealing with concussion syndrome, I just want you to know that you're not alone. Because me going through it, when I went through it, I never really heard of it. It's something not talked about. And when I was going through it, I felt alone. I felt like nobody really understood what I was going through because nobody else was going through it. And I just want you to know that there are others out there. I would also like to say that no matter how frustrating it gets, just know that everything's gonna be all right. Everything is gonna turn out okay. You're going to get better. Trust me, it takes time to see results. It really does. But you can get through it. And also, please don't isolate yourself. And just know you'll get through it. I know, of course, it's very difficult, but just see the light at the end of the tunnel.